The Fox News headline reads, Nebraska boy, age 6, dies after diagnosed with COVID-19. Is that really what happened? Hey, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for sharing this video to your social media platforms. I need your help to spread the word that we're here. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel, smack the bell, and click the word all to get notification of my next rant. I've told you before, and I will say it again, stop referring to Fox News as a conservative news outlet. They are not. They are part of the lying, legacy, corporate, corrupt, mainstream media. I've said it before, and I will say it again. They are faux pas news, formerly known as Fox News. They are simply controlled opposition. Didn't catch that? I'll say it again. Controlled opposition. In other words, they speak to a demographic in the hopes that that demographic believes that they represent them, when in reality, they're trying to slowly shape and redirect the thinking of that demographic. Now, there are some conservative voices on Fox News. Tucker Carlson rates #1 in my book. There's a reason that his numbers are now trouncing Sean Hannity. Stop referring to Sean Hannity as a conservative mouthpiece. He wants to be. He certainly used to be, but he is #1. He's five-line Hannity. Says the same 5 things over and over and over and over and over. He interrupts every guest to see if they agree with his opening monologue. And again, his opening monologues are a real reflection of the fact that he is a financial sellout. When it's obvious that, yeah, he has the ear of the president, and the president will do interviews with him, and Hannity does know how to get the right quote-unquote conservative guests on there, but Hannity himself is all over the place, and I've documented it over and over, most recently with his asinine assertion about, I can wear a mask at a ballpark and pull it down real quick to eat my hot dog and put it right back up. Then what's the point, Sean? That's what some of us are trying to emphasize. It's time to unmask. You're encouraging the mask. You're encouraging the lineup for your temperature. You're encouraging the vaccine. Yeah, okay, we get where you're coming from. But Fox News as a whole, it is part of the lying, legacy, corporate, corrupt mainstream media, period. And this article that they ran on their website, Nebraska boy, age 6, dies after diagnosed with COVID-19. Now, I said just yesterday that Fox News and other media outlets are starting to tout these types of stories because they've got to keep this fear and hysteria in place that we can't send kids back to school. It's too dangerous. The president went on Axios. If he had talked to me, I would have told him, don't do it. But I get why he did it. And I'm not even saying like Rush Limbaugh and others are saying that he should never do those interviews. But the president needs some people around him other than Ivanka and Jared and the other hipsters that are, trying to help Donald cross over as far as get his message out to a broader base, which I agree with the theory. The problem is that Ivanka and Jared and the so-called talking heads around him, they don't do a good job at preparing him for what he's walking into. Now, I know the president thinks that he can walk into any of these interviews and own the interviewer. And on a certain level, he does. I mean, he actually did well, in my opinion, in the Axios interview, but the mainstream media is ripping him a new one because the Axios interviewer got him with, there's 1,000 people a day dying from coronavirus. And the president said something to the effect of, is what it is. Well, you know how the mainstream media is going to spin that. He doesn't care. He's disengaged. It doesn't affect him, so he doesn't care. See, I would have surrounded the president with people who are really up on Axios and all of these new social media platforms and how they operate and how they think and how they work. And I would walk the president through, this is what they do, these are the kind of questions they're going to kind of ask, and this is how they're going to try to get you. And I would let the president walk in there and do his thing, but he still needs information. An ace pitcher for any baseball team still has to kind of know what's in the batting order that he's facing. He has to know that even if he's got a really wicked, awesome curveball, he's got to know if there's somebody in that lineup that can really eat up wicked, awesome, amazing curveballs. He's got to know that. He has to bone up on the opposition. He's got to know what they're up to. And then the president needs to have people around him that bone him up on this. He's right. And he was trying to present a context that, hey, COVID is here. And it's probably never going away. Are you willing to assume the risk and just go live your life? Which is what a lot of us have been saying since day one. Lockdowns don't work. The president said that, and Axios and the mainstream media, they're killing him for it. Well, they don't work. All you're doing is delaying the inevitable. If you wear your mask and then go into quarantine and shut down, it doesn't automatically, wow, now your immune system gets really, really strong so that when you finally emerge from your house in 2 weeks or a month or 2 months, whatever, Fauci and the CDC and the rest of those hacks tell us is the approved timeline, which we can reemerge November the 4th, after the election. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden now you are protected and you will not get coronavirus. All you've done is delay getting it. It's a viral infection. You're probably going to get it at some point. And the president doesn't always do a great job in the area of communicating necessarily what he's thinking and what he knows and how to put it in a verbiage that the uneducated result of public school education, young people and middle-aged people are trained to think with. He doesn't relate to their speak. And that's where he could use a little help in honing his message and how to say things in crayon so that they can understand it. What the president needed to do was explain, it is tragic when anyone dies. One person dies. But we can't lock down an entire country for one person. We can't lock down the entire country for 1,000 people. And then he needs to fire right back. Do you know how many people die every day in auto accidents? Do you know how many people die every day of cancer? Do you know how many people will die this year alone of just regular pneumonia and the regular flu? You gotta put it back on them. Now, that all said, how many kids have died in this country from coronavirus? This little 6-year-old Nebraska boy, and it is tragic, and as a pastor, my heart breaks. As a dad, my heart really breaks. I love my kids. I don't want any of them to die. It's not a natural thing for parents to bury children. Children are supposed to grow up, become adults, and bury their aged parents. That's kind of our thinking in the cycle of life. But when you read on the article on Faux Pas News, the little boy age 6 who was looking forward to going to first grade, turns out in his little lifespan, he had received not 1, not 2, but 3 organ transplants. Now let that sink in. He was the recipient of 3 organ transplants. And his school principal said he had suffered from a number of ailments. Now, his principal said that, so he'd only been to school for kindergarten so far, and if he'd already been out of school and missed a lot of time because of ailments, and he's the recipient of 3 organ transplants, a common cold could have killed this little boy. The flu, pneumonia, measles, any number of things could have been the nudge that would have taken, tragically, the life of this little boy. It just happened to be COVID. But the way Fox News, the way the media frame it, 6-year-old Nebraska boy dies, and then their byline is proof that children are susceptible. Bum, ba-dum, bum. Because again, can't have these kids in school. No, 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 no. Nay, 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 nay. And again, that was the point the president was trying to make with Axios, that we're going to have to learn how to live with this. But you see, we can't do that. Do you know how many people die every year of the flu? It's more than coronavirus. Do you know how many children in our country die every year of the regular flu? Now, this is an average. It's an average, and I got it from the CDC because they got the approved numbers and the cookbooks to prove it. About 200 children a year. Some years it's Less, some years it's a little bit more, but it averages out to about 200 children per year die of the flu. We don't shut anything down for that. You know why? We've learned to live with the flu. We accept the flu. Now, in our psyche, we think there's a flu vaccine out there, and there's not. There's the flu shot. It's not a vaccine. And you know how they help you not get the flu? By giving you the flu in the shot to inoculate your system to it. I never get a flu shot, and I don't get the flu. I take good care of myself. I not only practice good hygiene, but the one thing that Fauci, Stein, and the rest of these so-called medical experts never, ever, infinity, never talk about is how to build up your own immune system. They only want to talk about masks and mandates and the marvelous mystery vaccine that Fauci just happens to hold the patent on a few of these. But he never talks about, he's supposed to be this so-called great expert, this infectious disease expert. Yet we showed you an article yesterday that in 2005, the very institute which he serves as the president over, that apparently the director over, he can't be fired from. He was asked point blank by the New Yorker, hey, or was it the Atlantic? One of those asked him, can the president fire you? No. Do you plan on stepping down? You are 79 years old. Why would I step down? I'm healthy, I'm energetic, and if I do say so myself, I'm doing a great job right now. Those are Fauci's words. I'm doing a great job right now. He's being given some award for his contribution to social change in our country. Wait, I thought he was a doctor, a scientist, and what he is doing is above politics. There's nothing. This is not about social reengineering. This is about saving lives. Bullhawk. I told you before what Fauci was, and you didn't listen to me. You don't believe me. That four-eyed little runt, that little love child of Dr. Kevorkian. This little nut job is on a power trip, period. Period. And he's probably having a period. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, kind of. You got Fauci out there insinuating, about having these kids go back to school. And again, this little boy who tragically died. 3 organ transplants. And Fauci's own organization in 2005 wrote articles in favor of hydroxychloroquine to handle viral infection. And again, if he's this big expert, remember he came to fame during the whole AIDS epidemic. I'm sorry, what's the name of the vaccine Fauci came up for AIDS? Oh yeah, he didn't. The swine flu? Yeah, he didn't. Ebola? No, he didn't have one for that either. Fauci has been called an expert because he's played the political game in Washington. We all know he's a card-carrying liberal. We all know that he much prefers the company of liberal politicians, and he's received the donations to prove it, the endowments to prove it. We get where he's coming from politically, ideologically, and because he's hung around and been part of the game, part of the deep state, part of the swamp, he gets the title expert. And I told you the other day what expert is. Ex means old, former, past. Ex, it's over. Ex-wife, ex-husband, over, former, past, old. And spurt is a drip. So yes, in the strictest form of the word expert, yes, I agree. Dr. Fauci is an old drip. That I concur on. But him being this invaluable walking encyclopedia of all things viral related and we need to hang on his every word, bull hock. Baloney. Now, how many kids have died from coronavirus? Well, are you ready for this? This comes from the CDC. 0.013 of the patients in Canada have died. And the U.S. is even smaller. But the headline, 6-year-old boy dies of COVID who had a triple organ transplant. Any infection could have killed that little boy. We have got to learn to push back on these false narratives. 99.89% of the people who get COVID will survive. That needs to be rammed down Axios and the mainstream media's throat. And all of these people, they're testing positive, more positive tests, more positive tests. Now, the president does not have a good answer for that, and they keep tripping him up with it. Mr. President, every day, more and more positive tests. And he doesn't understand that when he says, yeah, but it's because we're doing more testing, that, no, Mr. President, we're finding more and more people every day. His pushback has to be, okay, yes, more and more people are testing positive. That means it's ripping through the society, which is what we need it to do. That's how it goes away. We will develop a herd immunity to it. And we have made so much progress, basically, even more than the flu or pneumonia. You can get COVID, and within a week, most people will be fine. Some people will not, and that's tragic, but that happens with the regular flu, that happens with pneumonia, there are people who die from the common cold. And that's how the president needs to frame these things. Push it back to get people to accept that it's here, but you're going to live. Because the way the media reports it, the way the politicians talk about it, the way even Fox News frames it, it's like if you get it, you're going to die. This is why there are people in this country who really think millions of Americans have died of COVID. And they think wearing the mask will protect them. Bullhock, it will. No, it won't. No, it won't. And Mr. President, you now, and again, you've got new advisors, and they're giving you really bad advice. And I'm sure that part of that is even from your own daughter telling you, Dad, you've got to appear empathetic, so you need to talk about it's patriotic to wear a mask and once in a while wear one. And no, Mr. President, do you understand that as people wear the mask and they see each other in masks, it keeps reinforcing the narrative. Oh, every day people are getting corona, and every day people are dying. This is a death sentence, a death sentence, a death sentence. Because I can tell you, no matter what happens on Election Day, the day after, the masks will go away. Don't fall into their trap, Mr. President. And Fox News, could you go back to what you used to do? Tell the truth.